Hey guys, so Shiro here. So Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite has been out for a few weeks now, so we're going to go ahead and talk about it right here. First off, a bit of a disclosure. I haven't been too excited for this release due to Capcom's recent business practices, especially when it came to the very disappointing launch of Street Fighter V. But having had a chance to play it, I'm glad to say that my fears did not come true, and playing Marvel has been an enjoyable experience for me. So right out of the box, it has much more content than Street Fighter V did. So we're just going to kind of take a small moment to recap on that launch. Now, because of the Capcom Pro Tour coming up at the time, the release of Street Fighter V was rushed and was also catered more towards the competitive players rather than for the more casual gamers. Because of this, the game was very bare bones when it came out. The game has a very poor quote-unquote story mode, which is really where you only do like maybe 2 or 3 fights. And there was also no arcade mode either. Actually, I'm not even sure if they even added that. But it wasn't until a month later that Capcom released a more fleshed out story mode, and it was released as free DLC. For Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, you don't have to wait for any of that. The story's already included. There's also a mission mode in there that helps you learn some combos for the game, as well as a tutorial mode to kind of help with some of the mechanics. There's also an arcade mode where you can fight against the CPU team and kill some time with that. So for the fighting game fans out there who may not be, the more competitive players, there's plenty in there for you to spend your time with. Story mode. So the main premise of the story is that both the Marvel and Capcom universes have combined in an event called the Convergence. With this, Ultron and Sigma have fused to become Ultron Sigma, whose main objective is to convert all biological organisms into machines by use of the Sigma virus. This then causes heroes from both of the Marvel and Capcom universes to fight together to prevent Ultron Sigma from winning. For any who have played the story demo already, that entire sequence is the beginning of the story mode in the game. So all of those cringy moments are still included. Unfortunately, there was no change with that, and there's also a few other cringe moments that will occur in the story as well. As a mode and a narrative, the story is not great, but it's also not terrible. When it does come to other fighting games with the story mode, I believe Marvel still pales in comparison to other games such as Tekken 7 or Injustice 2. The visuals. One of the biggest reactions from the community prior to its release was in regards to the bad character models. Fortunately, Capcom paid attention to this feedback and did improve some of the characters, but not all of them. Dante being a prime example, as well as others such as Captain America and Chris Redfield, in my opinion. Bad character models aside, the stages do look quite nice, and the game looks great during matches. It's filled with very bright, flashy, and colorful segments that have been a factor in the franchise with previous installments. The gameplay. In regards to the actual gameplay itself, I got to play a few matches online with a friend, and the connection was pretty good for the most part. Unfortunately, there were a few times where it was a bit spotty, but it never felt terrible enough to the point where my execution was being terribly affected. The game itself is very fun and reminded me of Marvel vs. Capcom 2. If you remember the Magic series from that game, it makes a return with Infinite. This system incorporates combos consisting of light punch, light kick, heavy kick into your launcher, which is crouching heavy punch. This combo system is universal towards mostly each character, making it very easy to pick up multiple characters and attempt to perform combos with them. One character that definitely strays away from this is Dante, whose command list feels very much more like a flowchart, making him a bit more of a complex character to use. It certainly feels much better than Marvel vs. Capcom 3, where it used an ABC combo function, with the launcher being its own button. It also features an auto combo system, similar to Persona 4 Arena, where if you press the light punch attack button repeatedly, you can perform a launch combo. If you don't wish to leave this on, you can simply go into the settings to disable it. This game is a 2v2 game, unlike previous entries in the franchise. Well, Marvel vs. Capcom 1 was like that, but 2 and 3 were definitely not. They were 3v3. But it uses a stone system as an assist, which is a very interesting mechanic. Each stone has a different ability, which acts as your assist, and when your stone's meter reaches a certain point, you can also activate a mode called Infinity Storm, which will have special properties depending on the stone you have equipped for the fight. The active switch mechanic is also very satisfying, as you can use it to not only switch out your character when needed, but also to extend your combos. The cons. Now this is going to be where I kind of rant for a little bit, because I really think this is fairly important. So, of course, the most noticeable downside to this game are the character models. However, I find the weakest aspect of this game to be its very lackluster roster. This is something that has been addressed so many times, but there were so many characters that could have been in the roster. It would have been nice to have seen a few more Street Fighter characters, or perhaps even characters from other games such as Power Stone. Other Resident Evil characters could have been featured. I am a bit biased, but I do think it would have been awesome to see Leon have a turn, rather than see Chris coming back. As for the Marvel characters, you can definitely see Marvel's influence about having their roster reflect the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Practically every character has shown up, or has at least been established to make an appearance within the MCU. A couple of exceptions being Ghost Rider and Nova. Ghost Rider has made an appearance in the show Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but that was Robbie Reyes, the all-new Ghost Rider, which quite frankly would have been amazing to see in this game. As for Nova, he hasn't made an appearance yet, but the Nova Corps were a big factor in the first Guardians of the Galaxy film, so that's already established. There's a high chance he's probably going to show up in, I think it's Infinity War is the name of that film. There are also absolutely no X-Men characters in this game at all. This has been very upsetting, as X-Men had been the Marvel series that were most influential and iconic within the franchise, which stemmed from the X-Men vs. Street Fighter games. We know that this is most likely due to licensing issues with Fox, who hold the rights to the X-Men and Fantastic Four, but their defense of today's modern Marvel fan not remembering who the X-Men are is just a very terrible excuse. The roster also has a very noticeable lack of female characters in the roster. Even with the planned DLC, which will include 4 Marvel characters and 2 Capcom characters, the percentage is still low. With the base roster of 30 characters, only 4 of which are female, this being Chun-Li, Morrigan, Captain Marvel, and Gamora. This also adds to my dislike of the roster because many potential characters could have joined and not have been returns from MvC3. Examples being Juri, Cammy, Minot, Laura, Rebecca Chambers, Claire Redfield, Spider-Gwen, Miss Marvel, X-23, or even X-23 as Wolverine as she is in the comics currently. The list could go on and on. Knowing the nature of Capcom, I'm certain that there will be future updates and characters, which makes me hopeful for an improvement of the roster in time. Final thoughts. Despite the character models and its roster overall, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite has been a very fun game. If you're a fan of fighting games, especially the more fast-paced one, definitely give it a try. I'm certain you'll enjoy it. As for the future success for the game, there's no doubt that this game will be played for many years to come. When you come right down to it, it is a Capcom game, and their fan base is very devoted to the Marvel franchise. So expect to see this game at EVO, which should make for a very interesting and fun event. Anyways, this has been my small review of MvCI. I think it's, like I said, it's really fun. So a like and a subscribe would definitely be appreciated. Feel free to leave a comment and let me know what you think. Hopefully you guys are having fun with it. Take care.